Hey guys, just catching up on a few videos, and I didn't realise that all these videos that have been made by Pyro and Matt and Gary have actually spawned off this one video that I made, which I said at the beginning I didn't want to get into any metaphysical waters, and that's exactly where it's gone. But judging by the general theme of discourse revolving around the people involved, it was kind of inevitable, really. So let me just say this to begin with. I don't think that creativity needs spontaneity. I don't necessarily think that a deterministic universe makes creativity redundant, because I think, of course, I mean, it's a self-evident truth that ideas always emerge within a particular cultural and historic context. Ideas always emerge within the backdrop of certain other ideas. I mean, when we think of music, there's particular eras that follow particular different schemes. You know, there's if we didn't have blues, we wouldn't have rock and roll. So you can see a fundamental progression, and there's no just spontaneous coming out of the vacuum here. I do think that what we call creative, I mean, I define it pretty easily. I think it's just coming up with something original that's useful in either an aesthetic way, a pragmatic way, or a functional way, or whatever way we deem to appreciate it. So I think that therefore a machine can be creative. I think it can come up with a creative idea, a creative thing. And the reason that I think this is because particular machines have been shown, like there's I'll try and find a link. I can't promise I will, but I'll try and find one. There's a few machines that create artwork based on genetic algorithms, and they take certain feedback and eventually develop things that are more aesthetically pleasing. It's kind of surrealist art, but you know, they do get better and better, or at least more aesthetically pleasing. And this is similar to the way that humans do. They take particular criticisms, they work on their ideas. It can even be a form of self-criticism. So I think a machine can come up with something creative. If you look at many of the things that machines have come up with, involving aerials and, you know, other things made by genetic algorithms, then if those things were made by humans, we would say that it was an act of creativity. But when it comes to computers, we're not entirely sure. And this is why I draw up the meme analogy, because again, things don't happen in a vacuum. Creativity involves getting a few ideas, or at least having a few preconceptions of ideas, what might be useful given a certain memeplex, mixing them together in ways that haven't been mixed together before, mutating them slightly, and eventually producing a new meme. And that's the analogy that I see there. So without trying to gloss over metaphysical waters, which I think I'll briefly go into a little bit, I don't think a deterministic universe, if it were possible, would demean creativity. I don't think we can determine a deterministic universe, on the other hand, but I don't think quantum physics shows us that the universe is definitely non-deterministic. Certainly our dreams of Laplacian determinism, where we can just shove all the variables into a machine and calculate the future for the rest of forever, is optimistic, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the future is determined. It's just not able to be accessed by us. I think we still have to remain agnostic on that. Personally, when we're talking about quantum physics and other things like that, I mean, the experiments in quantum physics are certainly fascinating, but I've read a few particular approaches on it that aren't the mainstream approaches, but they're kind of a deterministic hidden variables approach, which would be one that I'd probably endorse if I were to endorse any. That's not to say that they're not without their problems, but I think they involve going down less metaphysical wormholes, less metaphysical rabbit holes that lead to innate paradoxes than, say, Copenhagen, multiple worlds, and whatever. So, while it might not be possible for individual humans ever, even the most advanced supercomputer that we could ever build, to predict the future for the rest of eternity, again, that doesn't detract away from the possibility that there might only be one future. I think as in regards to free will, I think we can have creativity without free will, but it depends what we define as free will, of course. I disagree with all compatibilist views, and therefore I'm pretty much a determinist. If, say, we were capable of knowing whether the universe was probabilistic or deterministic, I'd still be a determinist in the way that excludes free will, because dice throwing doesn't give us free will no matter what. So even if we were living in a probabilistic universe, that doesn't say that we have free will at all. So I've heard many arguments for compatibilist views. I've heard many arguments for non-deterministic views that aren't quantum views, but really, I'm kind of, if I'm being honest, I'm probably a fatalist. In the philosophy of time, I'm an eternalist. I think that I adhere to Stephen Hawking's view of the universe, which is that four-dimensional space-time is an entity that's closed in on itself. It has no true beginning or no true ending aside from our particular perceptions of time. But it all exists, and it all exists simultaneously if we were able to sort of transcend space-time somehow. So that's where I stand on these particular issues. Yeah, there's something that no one's really discussed yet, which is, what is cause and effect? I mean, what roles do the laws of physics actually play in this? If we're going to have a serious discussion and we're going to take the notion of cause and effect seriously, we're to at least suggest its role, or that whether we adhere to a regularity theory of the laws of physics, or something like Armstrong or Shoemaker or something like that. So I did say I didn't want to get into any metaphysical waters, but if metaphysical waters are coming up, I think we need to take issues in cause and effect very, very seriously, and issues of the laws of physics. What is a universal? All these sorts of issues can't go untouched. But again, I don't think that just to sum up, I don't think that creativity necessarily is necessarily impossible in a deterministic, mechanistic universe. I just define creativity as something original, which is useful to us, and I think that any system, organic or non-organic, that can produce such an artifact is a creative system, and that's how I define it, to be honest. So that is all I have to say for now. So who knows, this might spawn off a few other random videos, and I'll speak to whoever responds to this soon. Peace.